You're listening to the Show We Go Baseball podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 67 of To The Show We Go. We got Ed Hand, as always, and myself, Andrew Parker. Well, we have another new guy to the Red Sox system on today. Our last episode was Cooper Adams, actually, was the last one about a week ago. But he had a great story. He was an undrafted guy. He just got down to Red Sox camp not too long ago. We're going back to brand new face of the system. We have Red Sox pitching prospect Adam Bates. Now, Adam's story, a little more interesting than, I guess, your typical, undrafted free agent or whatever. He was an international free agent out of Australia. So you don't see those come around too often. So, Adam, before we kind of dive in and everything, what has it been like since you got stateside this past week?
Oh, it's been very different for me. Obviously, being in Australia, it's not as baseball a top sport. So, being out of the field every day, working out, eating right, it's a whole different experience for me.
What's the baseball culture in Australia like?
It's getting bigger. Obviously, after our men's side did very well at the WBC, there's a lot more people getting involved. But, we have our professional league where you have professional teams come and send guys to our conference. So they play throughout October through to about February. They have about 10 rounds, 40 games. And that we have like local ball as well, where for me, that's where I was able to get the opportunities that I was to get signed by the Red Sox. But it is definitely getting a lot bigger.
How did you get into baseball?
Ironically, I got it through some of my primary school friends. So in Australia, we have primary school and then high school. We don't have a middle school. So I was playing cricket at the time, but I didn't really enjoy it that much, even though it sounds bad coming from an Australian. I didn't enjoy it that much. And then they said, "Oh, we're going to play T-ball this year. Do you want to come play with us?" I was like, "Yeah, I want to play. I wanted to play a sport. I didn't want to play cricket." So I played it. I really enjoyed it. I think I earned MVP that year, and then I moved to where I'm living now, and just loved it ever since.
I have to ask.
Pardon?
I'll go with Parker on that.
I was gonna say I wanted to ask, like, right up front, is you're still a really young guy, and that big of a move from Australia to the States to play baseball is gotta be one of the biggest life changes that you've ever experienced. So I know it's fresh. I know you just got there, but do you have any early, I guess, takeaways from being here and kind of settling in and just the differences between the two countries?
Obviously it is a big change. As we were talking, before we started recording, it's a long flight, big jet lag. So the first couple of days I was getting over that. But it's not too different from Australia. Obviously the English speaking, the driving on the other side of the road's taken to get a bit used to, but I'm sure I can get over that one quickly. But they're not too dissimilar. Obviously Florida gets hot, Australia gets really hot. But yeah, so far it feels like home. Obviously only been here for a couple of days now, but so far so good.
So you're at the complex now?
Yeah, I am.
Gotcha. So I was just looking at your baseball reference page, and it looks like you pitched it for Sydney when you were 16 years old.
Yeah, I did. I was fortunate enough that during those COVID years, they only had a certain amount of games running. So we played our crosstown rival, the Canberra Cavalry. And obviously they didn't have any imports come over. So I was fortunate enough where I was at a point where I was in the eyes of some players, and obviously the head coach at the Blue Sox is the scout for Pittsburgh Pirates. So obviously he'd been following me and liked what he saw, and they offered a spot, and I was obviously, being so young, it was a big deal. So I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity.
So is the Australian players that do come to the States, how are they, I guess, received in Australia by guys like you that are kind of coming up? I saw you were teammates with a guy named Chris Ospring that got to pitch for the Padres for a bit. Obviously, the Red Sox just signed Liam Hendricks. There was a guy when I was, I think it must have been 2008, 2009. His name was Mitch Denning, who was an Australian outfielder who had a very good season for the Lowell Spinners and then sort of flamed out a little bit after that. But every now and then you see somebody come from there. So I'm just wondering, like, if you do you follow them over there? Like, what's that like?
Obviously, Chris Ospring is a good mentor of mine. He coached me for the last 3 years out at our state program. So I didn't know about him beforehand. There's not many Australians that you know of because obviously they're all in the lower ranks. So it is a big deal when they go major leagues. Obviously, Ryan Roland Smith as well, who was in the major league for the Mariners. So he's obviously well known as well. Curtis Mead now, he's a big talk of the town, being with the Rays. But in Australia, you kind of just follow the team. So whoever like your team is, whoever the big names are, you tend to know those more than the Australians. You might know some here and there, but it's more the team than anything.
So Ed just pointed out Liam Hendricks, and were you at least a little bit excited when you saw that he was going to be down in Red Sox camp?
Yeah, it was funny. We talking to the scout who signed me. He goes, "Oh, you're going to be the only Australian. Everyone's going to love the accent." And talking to mum and dad the day before, like it happened, they're like, "Oh, it's going to be different being the only one there." And then we saw that he signed, and I was like ecstatic. I was like to mum and dad, "Look, I'm not the only one anymore." And obviously Liam having a big reputation for Australian baseball, obviously being an all-star, being in the same comp, like the same team as him, that's pretty cool.
And so I interrupted Ed earlier on a question. Sorry about that, Ed. But I was also thinking this at some time. But were you always a pitcher? Like, what made you decide on pitching and I guess sticking there?
So it came when I was about 14. I started going to a pitching coach. So obviously pitching and Australian baseball is not that big. So having someone who worked in that industry was good to have. So he ran his stuff out of the Florida baseball ranch. So he had connections to that. So when I went to him, I think I went once a week. I got all the stuff from that they used to do, and it stuck with me. And then the next year when COVID hit, in Australia, you couldn't do much. You were allowed within 5 kilometers of your area. So you're allowed from your house, you're allowed 5 kilometers in each direction. Lucky for me, a baseball field landed in that. I didn't want to be cooped up in my house all day. So me and one of my friends went down to the field quite literally every day for about 5-6 hours. We did hitting, we did throwing, we did pitching, we did fielding, like you name it, we did it. And when we came out of lockdown, I had my first tournament in Adelaide, and I think I got up to about 87 or 89. I can't remember the exact figure, but it was a big deal because I jumped 10 miles in that year that we're off. And it really showed, and I was like, oh, I can't hit that well as I can pitch. So it's pitching for me stuck, and after that, I kind of directed my attention to pitching, and guess it worked out well. I hope.
What Ed, you're still muted by the way, but I'll ask one before you hop in. But leading up to that, so obviously you jumped the 10 miles per hour. When did the interest and when did you start to find out that a team like the Red Sox and potentially others were interested in you and maybe professional baseball in the States was a possibility for you?
So after that tournament, one of my friends from the team that I played in the gold medal game, so that game that I hit that 89, reached out to me and was saying that the Kansas City scout that we had a Kansas City, he said to me, he goes, "Oh, like who was the guy that you faced and who was the hardest to face?" and he mentioned my name, and then he came down from Melbourne up to Sydney to come watch me do a bullpen. So I think it was after that point that I really realized that I could make this a profession. But obviously in Australia, there's not many guys who sign. So I think I'm one of 34 in the whole country who play professional baseball. So I was like, oh, it's not going to be a big thing. So I kind of set my sights on going to college until I got offered by the Milwaukee Brewers 2 years ago now, and I realized that wow, okay, this is actually a thing that I could do. Obviously, that it wasn't the right time for me, so I kind of lost that motivation to go again. So I again set my sights on college, up until the Red Sox offered me in August last year.
What was the conversation with the Red Sox like, and what made you sign with them?
Honestly, it was very unexpected. So I was on a national junior camp for Team Australia up in the Gold Coast, to get the team selected for the Under 18s World Cup that was held in Taiwan that same year. Um, I honestly didn't have my best outing that week, so obviously there being scouts there, I was like, oh, they're not gonna offer. They're halfway through their international signing pool money, so they're not gonna have much left. Um, and then the national player development manager came up to me and was like, "Oh, I want to have a chat with you. Can you stay back after?" So I was like, knowing anything from high school, that's never a good thing if it's someone asks you to stay back. So I was like, I had all these thoughts running through my head, about what happened, like what have I done? And he said to me, he goes, um, "The Boston Red Sox are back at the field talking to your mom right now," and my jaw kind of dropped. I won't lie, I was kind of speechless. They said they had a couple of deals fall through in Asia, um, and they want to offer you. Like, what are your thoughts? And I was like, honestly, I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. Obviously, as an Australian, not many people know baseball, but if you ask any person to name a baseball team, they're probably going to name the Yankees and the Red Sox. So um, that was kind of my first initial thought. And then he was telling me all the positives about, doing it now. Obviously, being so young, I'm not wasting my life. Obviously, this was always a childhood dream of mine to play professional baseball. And honestly, after that, I was like, you're not going to get a much better team, and you're not going to get a much better deal. So I said yes.
What do your parents think of all this? Did they, before you played it, did they know much about baseball?
Dad grew up watching the Diamondbacks, so his favorite pitcher was Randy Johnson.
Mm.
Um, so obviously, big expectations for me now. Can't all be like him, but um, so he grew up watching the Diamondbacks. He didn't play it, never played it. He was always a cricket player. Obviously, he knows the basics, but um, they were always there for me. So they never said I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. They were always very supportive, and all learned the different parts of the game as I progressed in my career. So dad ended up becoming a coach. Mum ended up learning how to score. My sister ended up playing as well. She still plays at home. Um, so they all enjoyed it more as I got more into it. Obviously, that way we can spend time as a family in baseball.
And so, what was it like, I guess, once you did end up signing that contract and you were just like, okay, this is reality now. I can't, you came back down to earth. You're like, okay, like this is actually happening. I have to go over to Florida, in the United States. Have you ever been to the United States before then?
Yeah, I was in Florida. I was actually in Fort Myers 2 years ago for the under 18s World Cup.
Okay. So obviously you'd already been to Fort Myers actually too. That's kind of
Mm.
impressive, of all the places. But I guess once you signed, how was it like with your friends, with your family? Like, was it just like a big celebration for the next, like, I guess like 3 months after you'd signed?
So when I actually signed, it was during the midst of the World Cup, so no one actually knew. So we kind of kept it, not a secret, but it was very not many people knew, simply because I didn't want everyone to be like, "Oh, he's got this amount of money. He's signed now. I gotta step up." So our goal was to try and win as many games at the World Cup as we could. So I didn't want to put any distraction. So everyone found out after the World Cup, like once we finished. But all of the guys in the team were very supportive. Once all my family found out, they were very supportive. My friends were judgmental in a sense. They're all like, "Oh, we've had to deal with you in high school. You've got to give us a percentage of your signing bonus." And stuff like that. They'll make fun of me every now and again, but they were excited. Before I left here, actually, they threw me like a going away party. So thanks to them as well. So obviously they supported me. My family obviously supported me. They were very ecstatic and happy for me. Obviously, a dream come true, as I've said before. But yeah, everyone was great when it happened. So
You mentioned a little bit about thinking of prior to everything kind of falling into the way that it did, college. What would you have wanted to study?
I wanted to study exercise and sports physiology. Obviously, sport being a big part of my life. I didn't want it to go away after college. So obviously, there's many routes in Australia as well as America. There's so many different sports that you can get into. I honestly just wanted to say, as much as baseball, just stay in sport as long as I could.
And was it ever a thought in your mind, if you didn't choose to pursue baseball as early as you did, would you have done college in Australia, or would you have tried to go like stateside or something?
Um, I don't know. I've always wanted to. I think from a younger age, I always wanted to pursue baseball. Obviously, being good at a young age and standing out in Australia, I always wanted to go and express myself in the United States. I'm not gonna lie, Mum's a teacher, and we had our final exams just after I signed, and I got to a point where I didn't really like school. Like I didn't mind school, I just didn't want to do the work. Um, so if I didn't have to go to school again, I wouldn't complain. But I think I always wanted to go to America at some stage to do either college or play professional baseball.
So what was it? I'm staying on the Australia topic here, and I've brought up that you had pitched in the World Cup. You actually pitched in 2 World Cups, correct?
Yes, yeah, back to
Okay.
back years.
What was it like playing with, the Australia across the chest, the flag on you? Like that's got to be one of the best moments of your life.
Yeah, the first World Cup back in 2022 was as a surreal experience. Obviously, the first time I represented Australia, here in Florida. Um, the nerves were there, 100%. Don't get me wrong. So the first game I pitched in Mexico, I think I let in 1 run in an inning. Sounds bad, but it was a surreal experience. I settled down after that, and I mean, we didn't get finish where we wanted to, but that experience was really good. And then last year in Taiwan, when we played in front of like 3,500 people, and I think I pitched 5 innings for 1 run, and showing what Australian baseball is like, and competing with such a tough team was very good.
So you've mentioned Mexico, Taiwan, the U.S. What other countries have you gotten to play in?
I've got to play in Japan as well.
It's an exciting environment from the World Baseball Classic. I feel like that kind of opened up a lot of like, people living here in the States, just so like seeing on the big stage, just like in the other countries, and being like, baseball is insane in Japan. It's across the country or across the globe. Sorry, that it's just like, people like myself, kind of like, I never realized that the environment, like the vuvuzela is always going off. I'm just like, holy cow! Like, is
Yeah.
it like that in Australia? Like, are like the fans kind of a little rowdy as well, kind of like they are in like the Latin America countries and even Japan?
Not as much. So we don't get like big crowds. In Sydney, we get like 400, 500 people. It is getting back to a stage where we're getting those fans. Obviously, Sydney hasn't done so well the last couple of years. This year we had new sponsorship, so we played a lot better than we have been. But I know for a fact in Adelaide they get about 1,000 fans a game. That's big for Australia. So they have the music going, they have chants, so it's a good environment to play in. Obviously not the Japans or the America, but for Australia it's pretty good.
What's a common misconception about Australia? What's something that you would like people to maybe know about it that they might not?
We definitely don't ride kangaroos. um, a lot of people have asked me if we ride kangaroos. We don't. So if you go to Australia, don't try and ride one. They're not going to be friendly about that. The animals definitely are big. They're not that scary if you don't go near them. But yeah, I definitely say if you go to Australia, don't ride a kangaroo.
Okay.
It's our tagline for this episode.
Yeah, that one. That'll be clipped for sure. I want to ask a question about you. Adam Bates is the pitcher. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with a nice little website that a lot of Red Sox fans use that Ed Hand is actually attached to, called SoxProspects.com. You have your own page on there, as every other prospect in the system does. And so obviously not a lot of info yet because you haven't appeared in any games or anything, but I was reading it, and it says that you obviously have the fastball, tops out around 91. Then you mix in a curveball and a changeup. I guess, how did you as a pitcher coming up in Australia, how did you, develop your current pitch mix? Like what kind of, were there any coaches? Was there any outside voices? How did you develop into the pitch arsenal that you have?
So growing up in Australia, they all tend to kind of approach the same way. So everyone throws a fastball, four-seam fastball. Once you get a little bit older, so we don't start pitching live until we're about 11 or 12. So we learn from a late age. They always want to throw a curveball, and then to mix in that, they throw a changeup. On there, it also says it doesn't say it, but I throw a cutter as well. A pitch that I actually learned from Chris Oxspring. Honestly, just one day in a bullpen, he was watching me pitch and he said, just move your fingers over a little bit and just throw it like a fastball. And then next pitch I saw it moved, and I was like, what did I just throw? Like, I had no idea. He goes, you just learned how to throw a cutter. There you go. He goes, that'll be $100, but you know how to throw a cutter. But we always learn to throw a curveball and a fastball. So at first I couldn't throw a changeup, so I really worked on that. And then it got to a point where it was very good. So it matched my fastball and then had a really late die. My curveball was, at a beginning, it was 12-6, but as I got older and I got a bit stronger, my arm slot changed, and moved to a 1-7, with good break. And then the cutter it matches again with my fastball really well. It has a very late break and similar speed. So
Ed's gonna have to hit up his guys to have them update the
yeah.
the
I actually took a note here that just says Bates throws a cutter. Remind everyone. What's your favorite pitch to throw?
At the moment, it's probably the cutter, because at the World Cup it was about 86 to 88, and it fooled hitters because it looked like my fastball until like the last second. Then I had a break, so it got hitters off balance, and then I could come back in with the fastball, and then they'd expect it to break, and it didn't.
So I want to dive into the now that you're here down at the complex. So I did just see, so we're recording this right after the Red Sox just played their first exhibition game of the year against Northeastern. And I saw you had watched probably a few innings in the stands. So I guess just being at JetBlue, being down around all the guys, the minor league guys, maybe some of the big league guys, like what are your first impressions of being around the Red Sox facilities and everything?
Yeah, everyone's kind of guided to the same goals. Obviously, everyone wants to make the major league side. Great group of people. Everyone's supportive. Obviously, me being my first year, helping me out like where to be, how everything works. Being at JetBlue today, watching them play, it was very surreal because it's now what I'll be doing. So obviously in a couple of years, that's obviously my goal to be on that field, seeing a couple thousand fans there. Very surreal to be able to be a part of it in a sense. But yeah, everyone is great, and they're very supportive of everyone's goals in the organization, whether it be as a hitter or as a pitcher. So yeah, it's very good so far.
All right, Adam. I have a speed run for you if you're up to the task.
Yep.
Very random questions, non-baseball related for the most part. So
Yep.
I might have a little twist on this as well because I usually have like a set of questions, but I'm like, you know what though? Like you're not gonna probably have answers for a few of these. So we'll see. All right. I need to know, are you a movies, show, or live TV guy?
Movies.
Okay. If you had a walkout song in 2024, what would it be?
Hell's Bells by AC/DC.
Oh, incredible. You're off to a good start right here. You are at the ripe age of 18 years old right now. So I need to know, by the age of 24, you would want to have accomplished what?
At least AAA and being at least engaged to my current girlfriend.
Lofty goals. That's good. Speak that
Wholesome.
into existence.
Wholesome.
Yeah. All right. Who's your favorite athlete outside of baseball?
Good question. And I'd have to say his name's Lockie Whitfield. He plays AFL.
Okay. I got to look that one up.
It's Australian football, so kind of like American football, but you kick and hand pass instead of throw it.
Wow. Okay. I've never seen that before. Have you, Ed?
No, you know who's probably seen that? My dad is into that kind of thing, but I've never seen it.
Okay. I mean, I'm not hating on it. I think it actually sounds quite
really cool.
So, yeah, I'm about it.
I give them props. It's a very endurance-based sport, so I give them very good props for that.
All right. So you're a movie guy, I know, but I need to know, what was your favorite TV show of all time?
Recently, my favorite at the moment is probably Suits.
Okay.
That's on
popular.
Netflix. Yeah. It's my dad actually got me into that one.
Okay. I think there's a few Red Sox minor leaguers that have said they've binge watched Suits recently. So,
what about
what's the favorite movie of all time?
Star Wars.
Okay, best let's say of the 9, which one's your top and which one's your bottom?
Return of the Jedi is probably my favorite, or Revenge of the Sith, and then the bottom. I don't want to say the Phantom Menace because it's obviously the start of it, so you learn about it. If not, it's that or the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I think that you get a lot of agreement from people my age on Rise of Skywalker being the worst one, but
yeah,
props for Revenge of the Sith. I think that's I like that one a lot. I don't want to say it's my favorite because I don't want my friends to assault me if they listen to this, but it's a good pick.
Fair, Ed. Fair. You're a young guy, but have you developed any weird baseball superstitions yet?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. There are some interesting ones out there. Like I know some guy, we've had a lot on here. It's like I have to put my right sock on before my left sock every time, and if I do it otherwise, like I'm gonna pitch terrible or play terrible or whatever. So maybe in a few years, we'll re-ask you that question and see if you develop.
In anything. A few years, hanging around these guys, I might have something different.
Yeah, I think you will. What is a food from Australia that you're going to miss in the States?
I really enjoy meat pies. So it's like a pastry with like beef and mince. You can have like rosemary in it. I usually have those a couple of times after training. So I think that's one of those things that I'll miss the most.
Okay. I don't think that I think you're not going to find those too often around here. What is a guilty pleasure of Adam Bates? Like, what do you love to do in your free time?
In Australia, I'd love to go swimming. Obviously, it being quite warm at the moment. I love to go swimming. If not, definitely like every other teenage guy, I definitely love to play the PlayStation.
Fair enough. What are you playing on there?
At the moment, I'm playing Rocket League the most and MLB The Show.
New MLB show comes out in like 3 weeks, so definitely ready
Yeah.
for that. All right. I usually ask a question to a lot of the guys, but mostly just American. It's like there's no way my favorite fast food fried chicken chain is not in. You can only get it in the southern states in here. So I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite, I guess, fast food chain?
In America, it would either be Raising Cane's or In-N-Out. In
It's
Australia,
incredible.
we don't have that many options. We only have a couple. So we have Burger King, KFC, and McDonald's, and we have a couple others. But in Australia, it's probably KFC.
Are there any
Okay.
Australian fast food chains?
Not really. Most of ours are American. We have Subway. I
Interesting.
know that's American as well. But there's not many like specific Australian fast food restaurants.
Interesting. Yeah, I was always curious about that because it's like, I obviously Australia is like, it's pretty sophisticated over there. I feel like they have like a lot of stuff we have, like is in
Yeah.
chains and everything. So I'm gonna give you some advice here. If you like Raising Cane's a lot, there's a place called Zaxby's that is a fried chicken chain, and it's pretty similar to Cane's. It's just a little better. And there's one like a mile away from JetBlue, like Fenway South
Oh, there
down
you
there.
go.
So if you
I'll have
need
to look
to, if you're looking for something, Zaxby's, that's
Yep, I
that's
gotta
my
write
place.
that down. I gotta write that down
Yeah.
now.
That's my place, man. You let me know how that is, because that's my number one spot. I have two more food related questions because I'm getting
Yeah.
a little hungry myself. But are you a pizza guy?
In America, I'm yet to find out like all the pizza because your pizzas are very big compared to ours. Like I think our biggest is 12 inches.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so that being, I can't usually finish in America. But back at home, we have like ours are more Italian, so we have like a barbecue meat lovers. I think that's more Australian. But that's probably my favorite one.
I will say, Ed, that's kind of sad. That it's a sad reality that Americans just the portions that we have over here are just absolutely insane.
We eat a tremendous amount of food and we don't care what we're putting into our bodies.
I think that's been the biggest thing as well, is how big the proportion of food is here.
I had a friend when I was 18, and that was an exchange student. She was coming from England, and I saw her again like 10 years later, and I was like, "Oh my God, you look great. You've lost so much weight." And she was like, "No, this is what I was like before I came to the US, and this is what I'm like after."
That's fair. Yeah, I always hear about that it's like our proportions are like insane. But you might get in trouble with the nutritionist at some point if you're just like getting used to it, I guess, compared to what you were. All right, Ed, I'm through the speed run questions. Did you have anything else before we wrap up here?
What are you most looking forward to this year?
Definitely the experience. Obviously, it being my first professional season, getting used to being I'd say, professional athlete. So doing the grind, as everyone says. So making your way through the system. But obviously, just getting better in a sense. So as an Australian, we only play once a week, twice a week, train maybe twice as well. So 4 out of the 7 days. So I'm underdeveloped in a sense. So finding out what my true limit is as a baseball player, when I keep going. So finding that limit and pushing it so I can, move my way up as quick as possible.
I have one other question for you, and it's just because I've been wondering this. Are you a Phoenix Suns fan? If you're not,
No.
if you're just listening to this, and you don't have the visual, he's wearing a Phoenix Suns shirt. So I'm just curious.
No, in Australia we have a shop called JD Sports. So they had a sale on one day, And actually, my girlfriend's younger brother is a Phoenix Suns fan. So I'm a Golden State fan. And it's just a really nice shirt, and it's just a shirt I decided to wear today. Didn't even think about it if I'm honest. But yeah, it's just a really nice shirt that I found at a store that was in Australia.
As good a reason as any.
No, I mean, I like the logo, and I mean, it is a good shirt. So I mean,
It's a nice shirt.
They have a pretty good logo. I had a couple questions before we let you go here. I know that you said that you were rooming with Vanderschaff down in the complex, but you just got here too, like this past week, but have you kind of started to meet some of the guys, like getting a little close? Like, have you guys have you had a chance yet to like really, I guess, get involved with any of the guys?
I've met, so obviously the Korean guy, Chansol Lee. So I've met him. We're kind of on a similar program at the moment, so we're doing quite similar each day. Obviously some of the guys that I've met on a couple of different days have different days to me. So I think one of the guys that I met on Tuesday, because I had a recovery, had a moderate the day after, and then a high. So I haven't been able to see him again. So I haven't been very close with other guys. Obviously, there's some guys in the locker room, but I feel like as I set into my program and do the same things every day with the same people, I think I'll get to know them a little bit better. But yeah, those first couple of days where I've been on and off in different programs and they've been doing theirs, gives me opportunity to meet more people, but not very close with them, not quite yet.
And I do want to ask, how is it, I guess, rooming with a guy from, growing up in a different continent? And I guess, what was that like? I guess just moving in with somebody like that. And this is like, you guys may have obviously grew up in different places and you're now living together.
I'd say it's been quite good. We have, obviously we both have some similarities. So in America, you guys use Fahrenheit, miles and whatever feet. So he uses kilometers and meters as well. So if we wake up in the morning and I said it was 9 degrees, you'd probably think, oh my god, that's freezing. But we use Celsius, so obviously that helps as well. But yeah, it's been really good. We have some similarities. He's been able to help me understand what the professional life is going to be like, obviously it being his second year. So being able to talk to him about that and what his journey was to be here as well. So obviously being different to mine, and yeah, it's been really good to share with Stein. So
any advice he's given you that's stood out?
He said to me it's just to work hard. Obviously it's a long season. Obviously not everyone gets to do it. But in the end, it's all worth it, because there's not every day you get to play professional baseball. So
It's like you said, you're
Adam,
like one of 34. It's pretty incredible. Like congratulations, man. Like
thank you.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about that, it's like a room of 30 people, like that's all that made it out of one country to professional baseball, like right now that's active. And it's like, that's a little nuts. So, well, Adam, we appreciate all the time. Obviously you're still getting acquainted to the States, and I guess working out the facility and everything, but we definitely appreciate the time of you hopping on and I guess telling a little bit about your story, and I guess letting Red Sox fans kind of know who you are. So we thank you so much for hopping on.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.